The sponsor of today's video is Ekster Wallets. The new Ekster Wallet Pro is here, and it's a massive upgrade from the original. It is slimmer than ever. It holds up to 14 cards and cash, and it also features a new metal card ejector trigger for smoother one-hand access. The flap now closes better thanks to a refined lining-free design, keeping your cards secure. Plus, it's customizable with a new add-on ecosystem and backed by a lifetime warranty. For Ekster's spring sale, they are offering the new wallet at 30% off. Use my custom link and my promo code SPTV to get an extra 10% off on top of that, up to 40% off the new wallet. Make sure to use my custom link and my promo code SPTV. Hello, everyone. Welcome back for more SPTV, where every day is a great day not to be in a cult. I wanted to bring you guys some additional clips from the meeting yesterday, where Scientology was absolutely humiliated at a Clearwater, Florida City Council meeting, where after 8 years of David Miscavige and Scientology trying to trick the Clearwater City Council into selling it public property, after 8 years of working very hard on this, at the very last minute, one of the key votes Scientology needed in order to push this agenda through reversed his position and said he will be voting no. Now, the local news did cover this actually, and it's interesting that their headline had nothing to do with what was actually happening in the community. The headline just focused on how unbelievable it was that someone from Scientology actually showed up at a public meeting to speak, because for an organization that dominates and controls downtown Clearwater, it sure doesn't like ever showing up and doing or saying anything in public. In fact, here is that headline: Church of Scientology makes rare appearance during a Clearwater meeting on closing downtown street. And actually, even the headline is a little misleading. The controversy surrounding this issue has nothing to do with whether a street is going to be closed. That's part of it. It really has to do with whether the street is going to be sold to Scientology. Now, the part of this meeting that I want to show you guys, because this is amazing, is where Scientology Office of Special Affairs agent Sarah Heller makes a huge mistake. Huge mistake. And that's one of the reasons I want to share it with you guys. I want to get this as many eyeballs on this mistake as possible. Sarah Heller says that the proposed construction of L. Ron Hubbard Hall in downtown Clearwater cannot occur if Scientology is unable to buy and close this street. Oh my God. The council members picked up on this right away, and at least one of them asked, and I'm going to share these clips with you as well. Wait a second. Are you saying that if we don't sell you the street, you're not going to build L. Ron Hubbard Hall? Somehow Sarah Heller managed to get away without answering that question specifically. But boy, oh boy, do I wish that one of the council members actually held her feet to the fire on that question. But I'm going to show you the clips, and you're going to see how the question was asked and how the question was answered. Because at one point, the mayor was like, how much property do you guys own in downtown Clearwater? And she was like, I don't know. Earlier in the meeting, they had already acknowledged that she knows. But it's at least 200 separate parcels. And the mayor was like, so really, you could build this hall on any one of your other parcels and not have to close down a public street, right? And she said, nope. That cannot occur. That is not possible. This is our campus. This is where L. Ron Hubbard Hall will be going. But at the exact same time, she said they cannot build L. Ron Hubbard Hall without the street. So the question is, David Miscavige already announced at the L. Ron Hubbard birthday event celebration that occurred in March. So yeah, March, about 8 weeks ago. David Miscavige already announced to all of the Scientologists in the world that they are going to be breaking ground on L. Ron Hubbard Hall in downtown Clearwater at this exact site this summer. Well, I grew up in a cult, so I'm not exactly sure when summer begins and when summer ends. But around June, July, August, summer ends like what? Does summer end in August or September? I don't know, guys. These are things beyond my ability to comprehend. But if it's May right now, June, July, August, in 3 or 4 months, David Miscavige has to break ground on L. Ron Hubbard Hall, or he looks like an incompetent, pathetic liar. Sarah Heller just said they can't build this building unless they buy this street. The city council in 2 days is going to take the official vote on whether to sell this street to Scientology. And as of right now, the vote is no. So let me show you this thing. I have it queued up right here. Let's make sure volume is good. Volume looks good. Let's go full screen on this. And how about we do it this way? Yeah, let's do that. Here we go.
Thank you. One of my last questions, sir, can you please tell us, do you need this road, and why do you need this road to develop what's in front of us?
Absolutely. The hall could not be built without this road. The hall and the park are one project. It is going to be an architectural masterpiece. And with 4,000 people going in and out of the hall and the park, you know, in the 21st century, you just are not going to have a public road right in between those two.
Understood.
What does the 21st century have to do with anything? No, it's funny because let me share with you just a screenshot of what they were looking at there for a second. Okay, so this is a screenshot of what Scientology is telling the city council L. Ron Hubbard Hall is going to look like. Now, you'll see what looks like a valet area right in front of L. Ron Hubbard Hall. Now, currently, that street runs all the way through. It's not a dead end. In Scientology's proposal, you can see it's a dead end. That's what they're basically saying they're going to turn it into if the city sells them the street. Currently, it goes all the way through. Now, in a few moments, I'm going to share you a clip where Sarah Heller basically like, oh my God, it's a safety issue. I mean, 4,000 people. Now you might go, where does she get 4,000 people from? That's approximately how many seats are in that auditorium. Now, there aren't 4,000 Scientologists in the Tampa Bay area. So that's an interesting thing to consider. But she's saying the thing holds roughly 3,800, seats, 4,000 seats. And oh my God, with 4,000 people coming in and out of that auditorium, it's just not in the 21st century. Could you have a street running down the middle? See, here's the thing. Scientology only has about 5, maybe 6. I think it's closer to 5 major annual international events. If Scientology really, really, really wanted to close down the street in front of L. Ron Hubbard Hall, when they actually have massive events where you might have 2,000, 2,500, maybe 3,000 people show up, they could just pull an event permit. They could just pull an event permit and close down that one block of the street for the day, the evening of the event. Do you see what I'm saying? And also in a few minutes, she's going to be like, oh, well, we had a study commission and almost nobody uses this road anyway. And you're like, so what you're telling me then is that it's not a safety issue. I mean, oh, Sarah Heller. Now, guys, maybe if we were still in the 20th century, you could run a street in front of that building and it would be okay. But guys, we're in the 21st century. We've taken it to a whole nother level. You couldn't possibly run a street through there. That would be insane. Okay, the next clip here is 140:19. Okay, good. And this is Lena Teixeira asking, if I recall correctly, pretty much the same question. Let me 140:19. Here we go. And here we go.
And my last question is, you say that you need this road for this project. Are you saying that if you don't get this road, the project will be canceled?
We do absolutely need this road for the project.
So if you don't get this road, it will be canceled or just modified?
It cannot be modified. We are going to need the road.
Because I can name a bunch of other venues that have more capacity that don't have a private road.
Sarah Heller didn't have a response for that. Lena Teixeira came so close to forcing Sarah Heller to actually answer the question. I thought she was going to follow up and be like, so you're saying it can't be modified? You're saying it can't be modified. So if I'm understanding you correctly, that means if this plan cannot be modified, and if we do not sell you the street, And if L. Ron Hubbard Hall cannot be built without this street, it sounds like what you're saying, Sarah Heller, is that if we don't sell you the street, L. Ron Hubbard Hall will not be constructed. But I think Lena, again, I'm just, pulling this out of my butt, but I think Lena was so excited to say that next line to Sarah that I can name for you a number of venues with much bigger seating capacity than 4,000 that do not have a private street, closed street running down out the front of their venue. I think she was so excited to say that she was like, she's just missed that sled opportunity. I'm not really criticizing here. I just would have loved to hear how Sarah Heller actually answered the follow-up question. Okay, the next short clip here is the mayor once again saying the exact same thing and going a little bit further with it. Okay, we're gonna go to 141. And okay, 141. Okay, here we go. And here we go. And here we go.
Was down a bit, so just be mindful of that as we go along. So, because I have some questions too. The street, I see cars approaching from, I guess, from the north to the south. So you're going to have cars on that street anyway. What's the purpose of closing it off on US 60?
And guys, I just wanted to provide a little bit of context for what he's saying there. So he's saying, Mayor Bruce Rector there is characterizing and describing this valet street as traffic running north and south on that street and cars being on that street anyway. When he says, what's the point of closing it off at 60? This thoroughfare that you see here on the right-hand side of the picture, the bottom right-hand side of the picture, that is Route 60 in Clearwater, Florida. So, okay, back to Mayor Bruce Rector. Here we go.
That is just a drop off. It rains here in Clearwater a lot. So that is the only use, and it will be very easy to block off, when necessary, so that there are no cars.
And when you say you can't build the auditorium without closing the street, is that because you've committed to a certain size of the building, or what's the meaning there?
The whole project, including the park, it's one project. I mean, you can look at the rendering and you can see that it is a large single project, and you would not have a road go through the middle of it. And with the number of people that will be coming in and out of the hall, it wouldn't be safe.
What study did you do on the traffic impact of closing that street?
There's 2 traffic studies which are attached to the road vacation application. Both of those show that the road is rarely used. And in fact, the few people who do use the road, there's a significant number of crashes turning onto Court Street, considering the number of people who do use the road. So it's actually a safety, it improves the safety of the community by closing the road as well.
Okay. Those were studies we did, or you submitted those? Or?
Yes, they were submitted as part of the vacation application.
Okay. And how much property does Scientology and its members own in downtown Clearwater now?
I couldn't give you a specific number. There's definitely a significant portion, especially along Cleveland Street, which is part of the Cleveland Street Alliance.
So would it be possible to put your auditorium on one of these other parcels that you own in downtown Clearwater and not close the street?
No. It's part of our campus, and that is the location that the hall will be going.
Wow. I mean, there you go. Okay, so there, Mayor Bruce Rector's questions there weren't focused on will you build or won't you build, but more on why bother closing the street, and have you done any studies on it, and couldn't you put it in another place anyway? So now that Sarah Heller has said, as an official representative of David Miscavige, has said they cannot put L. Ron Hubbard Hall anywhere else. They will not put L. Ron Hubbard Hall anywhere else. That L. Ron Hubbard Hall cannot be built unless they're able to buy and close that street. It seems like she's kind of painted David Miscavige into a corner, right? I mean, honestly, I'm giving her a hard time. I don't know what other answers she could have given at this meeting. I mean, there's only one outcome that was acceptable for David Miscavige, and that was to convince the city council members to sell him the street that he wants and close it and allow him to close it down. And keep in mind, this is what the council members who up until now have been advocating for this project. I mean, two of the council members are still advocating for the project. Okay. Michael Menino and Ryan Cotton are still advocating for approving this project. What these council members have not been honest with the Clearwater people about, the Clearwater citizens, is that this is only the first stage of the agreement with David Miscavige. There is also an abandoned, unused firehouse that exists directly to the east of Scientology's superpower building. Miscavige wants that firehouse. I'll give you an example of why he wants it. A year or two ago, a private developer signed a contract with the city and the county to purchase that firehouse and received funding and authorization and approval to build a affordable housing project on that property directly to the east of Scientology's superpower building. Now, guys, there's one thing David Miscavige hates more than non-Scientologists, and that's poor non-Scientologists. Okay. He said, I'll be damned if a bunch of people who need subsidized housing are going to live in a tower next to my crown jewel, the superpower building. And so you're going to have to take my word on this. I'm going to say allegedly what had happened was David Miscavige went to the developer and said, how much money will you make if you carry through on this project successfully, best case scenario? And the developer said, X amount of money. And he said, good, I'll give you that or more if you walk away from the whole thing. And that is exactly what happened. Okay. So the city of Clearwater, just this last week, or maybe the week before, authorized moving forward with demolishing the firehouse. They're going to use it as a staging area for construction projects for right now. Then they are going to declare it surplus property, and they're going to put it out to bid. Now, I wonder why they're doing that. It's because David Miscavige told them that's what he wants. Okay. And this is when 3 of the 5 city council members were still on board with David Miscavige's program. David Albritton is no longer on board. So David Miscavige is screwed. Okay. If they're not going to give him South Garden, they sure as hell aren't going to give him the fire property, the old firehouse property. Now, when I think about it, the mechanisms that exist to sell that firehouse property might be such that Miscavige can buy the firehouse property, even though he's not getting South Garden, but we'll see. We'll see. The third property David Miscavige wants is what's known in downtown Clearwater as the old Clearwater Marine Aquarium lot. And it sits directly to the east of Scientology's Fort Harrison Hotel and directly to the north of another hotel they have called the Oak Cove. That is the actual property that David Miscavige really wants. South Garden is something you just started asking for 5 months ago. You guys understand, L. Ron Hubbard Hall has been in the planning stages for over 20 years. And only 5 months ago did David Miscavige realize the project couldn't move forward without South Garden Avenue. This is one of the reasons that the council members know Sarah Heller was blatantly lying in that meeting. That was like the point where even everyone who was sort of like thinking Sarah Heller might be there as like a fair, honest actor, they were like, oh, she's just lying her ass off here. We already know this thing's been in the planning stages for 20 years. If they couldn't build the building without South Garden Avenue, we would have heard about it before December of last year. Okay. So the real property David Miscavige wants is the aquarium lot. The firehouse property is just a little bit of a bonus. South Garden Avenue is just a little bit of a bonus. And so these council members have not been honest with the public about this, that this is all part of a grander master plan of giving things to David Miscavige in exchange for David Miscavige doing all of the things he's been promising to do for over 8 years. Okay. I feel like I had another point there that I forgot to make. But let me see. Oh yeah. Oh, that's right. I was saying, well, what else is Sarah really going to be able to say there? Nothing. Yeah, that's right. Because the only possible outcome that would be acceptable to David Miscavige is exactly what he wants: buying that street, closing that street. And so I don't know. I wonder what you guys think. So the real reason Miscavige wants that street is to keep protesters away from that building when they're holding Scientology events there. I mean, as of right now, there is no building, but he does want to build L. Ron Hubbard Hall. Once the hall, if the hall ever does get built, it will be the location of all major international Scientology events. Currently there's an event that they hold once a year in LA. I think it's the New Year's event. I think they get the Shrine Auditorium for the New Year's Eve event. Here in Clearwater, Florida, they get Ruth Eckerd Hall for the March 13th L. Ron Hubbard birthday celebration event. And then in East Grinstead, England, they build a giant tent for the annual anniversary of the founding of the International Association of Scientologists. And then in Los Angeles on L. Ron Hubbard Way, they also build a giant tent for the summer events to celebrate the maiden voyage of the Free Winds ship that Scientology has. So there are a number of events that are very expensive to put on and happen at various locations around the world. Once L. Ron Hubbard Hall gets built, all those events will be held at L. Ron Hubbard Hall. So David Miscavige does not want protesters to be able to be outside that building. This is why Miscavige only started asking for the street 5 months ago, because this Scientology protest movement did not really get kickstarted in any meaningful way until about a couple years ago. And of course, it was started by Streets LA, Scientology Audit, William Good, Film the Police LA. He's got 4 names. William's got 4 names. That's pretty impressive. I mean, I've only got 2, and they're basically both my name. So Miscavige just decided, he's like, damn, these protesters aren't going away, are they? Damn, they're not just in Los Angeles, are they? Man, these annoying protesters are out there in front of the Superpower building every single Friday. Absolutely no fail. If we build this L. Ron Hubbard Hall, they're going to be there for every event, aren't they? You goddamn right they are, Dave. So the question is this: will David Miscavige build L. Ron Hubbard Hall anyway? Will David Miscavige break ground on L. Ron Hubbard Hall without an agreement to own South Garden Avenue? Will he give the evil, dirty, degraded being, suppressive persons the power of preventing him from breaking ground on his L. Ron Hubbard Hall? I don't know. I cannot figure it out. I feel like I can make arguments for both sides of it, and I just cannot figure out what it is he is going to do. Now, just to remind everybody, the council has essentially said, and I'm sort of putting words into all of their mouths. I'm confident they all do somewhat feel this way, that instead of just taking David Miscavige's word for it, that if you do this for us, we will do all these great things for downtown Clearwater. The council has basically said, hey, look, there's a few things you've started to do in downtown Clearwater as a show of good faith, as a part of your grand plan to convince us to sell you these properties. Instead of just expecting us to think you're so wonderful for having started a few of these things, why don't you just finish them and then come back to us and ask us for this thing that you want us to do? The problem is that nobody trusts Scientology. Rightfully so. Nobody trusts David Miscavige. In downtown Clearwater, they have a history of just lying about pretty much everything and essentially going to war with the city of Clearwater. I mean, essentially boycotting, sometimes boycotting all non-Scientology owned businesses in downtown Clearwater. At other times, trying to hold the entire city hostage by buying up hundreds of millions of dollars of prime commercial property in the downtown district and just leaving them vacant and empty. I mean, it really is an attempt to hold the city of Clearwater hostage by saying, hey, we don't care what happens to these properties, but we know that you do. In other words, we don't care if these properties sit vacant and empty and unactivated, but we know you do. Boy, we know how happy it would make you if we did something good with these properties. Maybe we'll consider doing that if you throw some things our way. And people who are fair-minded and see what's going on go, but wait a second. Doesn't that mean that you actually don't care about developing downtown Clearwater? Doesn't that mean that you and your own members don't have any interest in actually developing downtown Clearwater when all you ever do is dangle it as a carrot in front of the Clearwater City Council? You, David Miscavige and Scientology, clearly seem to think that we, the people of Clearwater, want downtown developed more than you do. So you must not really consider yourself to be a part of the community. You seem to see yourself as one thing and the community as another thing. The community wants downtown Clearwater developed. David Miscavige and Scientology don't. I wonder why. Well, there is and are very real reasons why. And I think possibly the city council members are finally coming to understand and believe those real reasons. David Miscavige does not want non-Scientologists in downtown Clearwater. If you understand the role of the flag land base in the world of Scientology, this will be perfectly obviously evident. The flag land base is the highest level Scientology organization in the world, aside from the ship, which for this conversation doesn't matter. You can't join Scientology in downtown Clearwater. If non-Scientologists do not pose a benefit to Scientology, in other words, they're not a source of new recruits, and if it's the most high-level, most secure Scientology service organization in the world, it's the one organization where David Miscavige spends the most amount of his time and gives it most of his attention, David Miscavige doesn't want to be around non-Scientologists. That's really all it comes down to. And so this dangling this carrot in front of the council members and the citizens of Clearwater, like, boy, if you give us this and you give us that, we're going to develop downtown Clearwater and bring people around. No, you're not. No, you're not. And that's why David Miscavige never actually completes any of these projects. He starts them because no rational person could imagine that an organization would start such expensive projects and never finish them. David Miscavige has already showed he will start an expensive project and just halt it right in the middle and not finish it. Scientology's superpower building in downtown Clearwater is the biggest and best example of that. I think that building took like 15 years from start to finish. And they did the groundbreaking ceremony and they put up an empty shell and they just let it sit there vacant and empty for years and years and years and years and years before they picked up construction on it again. And that was on a property that David Miscavige actually wanted. Not just a bunch of worthless, meaningless commercial storefronts in a relatively dead downtown commercial sector that David Miscavige could not possibly care less about. And so I slightly forgot the point that I was making there, other than the fact that, this is why David Miscavige never finishes any of the projects that he's using as a carrot. He just starts them. And the council members, as almost happened now, the council members go, wow, look at how much planning and time and money went into this project. Oh my God, they spent $17 million refurbishing an old brick building back to its historical condition in the 1930s when any other developer would have just torn it down. Any other developer would have said, that's way too much money to spend on a 2,200 square foot building. That's a waste of money. But Scientology spent the money. Yeah, why did they spend the money? Not because they care about the building, but because they cared about making it look to the city council members like they were dead serious about redeveloping and reactivating and reinvigorating downtown Clearwater so that the council members would be tricked into selling David Miscavige all of the new property that he really wants, so that David Miscavige would once again have all the power, all the control, all the leverage, and once again could go tell the city council to go F themselves. And that's exactly what's happened at every point in the past. And honestly, this also should have been evident because the council members themselves have admitted that at every step of the way of these negotiations, when they have asked Miscavige to put into writing all of the things he was promising to do, he said, no. How can you take someone seriously when they're literally just saying, yeah, take my word for it? Take your word for it. When has Scientology ever told the truth? I mean, in downtown Clearwater specifically, but also in generally. When has Scientology ever told the truth about anything? But yeah, take my word for it. Wow, we like your video, Dave. All your plans look amazing. Well, you keep showing this video to us in private meetings. Will you make a public presentation? No. Will you put it in writing? No. And so, Sarah Heller showing up to the council meeting last night and showing the video that she did was supposed to be Scientology's first and only attempt to reveal their plans to the public. And what does Sarah Heller do? She shows up and she plays the wrong damn video. And I think I should share that video with you. Now, she played the video she intended to play, but the video that she played was not the video the council members wanted her to show. It specifically wasn't the video David Albritton asked Scientology to show. And David Albritton is the one that said, I will vote yes for your project for the second time. It already passed the first time, but you have to vote on it twice for it to go through. I will vote yes on your project if you take the plans that you've shown all of us and you show it to the public. And he said this publicly. He put it on Facebook. He said, I've told Scientology I want them to make their plan, their whole plan, and present it to the public. And they told me they would. And he said, since they gave me their word that they would, and since what's at issue here is whether Scientology can be trusted, if they don't keep their word to me, I'm voting no on this project. He actually said that. The ball was in Scientology's court to do the right thing. Okay. David Albritton wanted them to show the video of what David Miscavige was promising to do for all of downtown Clearwater. Not just about L. Ron Hubbard Hall, not just about Cleveland Street. Do you guys want to see the video that Sarah Heller showed? Do you guys want to see what David Miscavige thought the people of Clearwater would care about? That's actually what's amazing here. Let me cue this up real quick. And I'm going to play it on, because there's no words in the video, it's just visuals and music. I'm going to play it on an accelerated speed. This is going to be at 1:13:56. 1:13 right there. Okay, I'm going to set the play speed to 1.5. I think this video is only about 5 minutes long. And I'm actually might even turn the volume down a little bit. Let's watch it. Yeah, we'll go this view. Here we go.
Good afternoon. So this agenda item and the vacation of Garden Avenue has already come before the council a couple of times, but there has been a request for the video on Cleveland Street to be shown. So I'm here to do that.
By the way, I'm going to comment more on this later, but Sarah Heller herself is only about 40 years old and change. She's been in the Sea Org for approximately 30 years. Sarah Heller herself is a child Scientology slave, and that's a whole other interesting conversation, but we won't have that right now.
On the website.
For the record, if you can introduce yourself.
Oh, I'm sorry. My name is Sarah Heller, and I work for the Church of Scientology.
This building right here used to have a Dunkin' Donuts in the bottom of it. Scientology bought the building, kicked out the business, and it's been under renovation for about 5 years. Just notice the unbelievable, minute, specific details Miscavige thinks people are actually going to care about. I am playing at 1.5 speed. The clock, guys, they won't shut up about this clock. They're so proud of that clock. Like the people of downtown Clearwater are like, well, we haven't come downtown in 30 years, but we heard there's a new clock. We're going to come down now. There used to be businesses in all of these buildings before Scientology bought them, kicked out the businesses, and then started renovating the buildings. Oh yeah, boogie down.
So that video and all of the other information on the 9 buildings that are already under renovation or restoration on Cleveland Street is available on the website, Cleveland Street Alliance. The website also includes, you can see here, blog updates regularly. It's updated all the time so that anyone can go to the website, see what is happening in each of those properties and projects, or they can go down Cleveland Street and see it there.
Yeah. Yes. And anyway, after that video, council members had some interesting thoughts on it. Lena Teixeira basically admitted, hey guys, no one's questioning your ability to renovate beautiful buildings. And you've got wonderful properties. It's a great way for Scientology to spend its tax exempt money. She goes, my concern isn't what the buildings look like. My concern is what's in them, particularly what's not in them, which is anything that welcomes a non-Scientologist. And she even called them out for their offices on North Fort Harrison Avenue, just north Fort Harrison Avenue, just north of Cleveland Street, between Cleveland and Drew. Scientology has bought and created and renovated a whole block of office buildings for Scientology's front groups, what they call their social betterment activities. She goes, guys, the buildings are beautiful. 90% of the time, there's not even a single Scientologist in those buildings. And another council member was like, what does this video, David Albritton, he goes, this is a video about Cleveland Street. What does that have to do with anything? We're talking about South Garden Avenue. Albritton said, I wanted you to show the people of Clearwater what you have told us, you have promised us you are going to do for the entirety of downtown Clearwater up to Missouri Avenue. And he goes, and I gave you an entire extra month to do it. He goes, when we voted to postpone the vote by a month, it wasn't just so that Brooks Gibbs and his team could have a time to put forward a better proposal for their competing project on South Garden Avenue. It was also to give you guys more time to make your presentation public. And I really thought that's what you were coming here to do tonight, but you didn't. And I'm really disappointed. And this is why David Albritton is changing his vote. So guys, it's Tuesday. The official council meeting where they will take the second vote is on Thursday evening, downtown Clearwater, Public Library on Osceola, 6 p.m. Scientology has 2 days to figure out how to get David Albritton to change his vote back to yes. I don't think they're going to be able to do it. I don't think they're going to be able to do it at all. This meeting yesterday was just a work session. They have a work session the Monday before the meeting to fine tune and streamline and make final decisions on what is going to be taken up at the council meeting. I can tell you there is nothing more important going on in David Miscavige's life right now for the next 48 hours than figuring out how to pull off a magic trick and get 3 yes votes. I am 100% certain Lena Teixeira will be voting no. Bruce Rector will be voting no. And I'm going to say I am 95% certain there is nothing David Miscavige can do to get David Albritton to change his vote back to yes. But my call to action for anyone watching this video is going to be to please send emails in to the city council members thanking David Albritton, Lena Teixeira, and Bruce Rector for saying they will vote no on Thursday. I would ask you to implore Ryan Cotton and Michael Menino to change their votes from yes to no. And I will put all of their email addresses in the pinned comment below on this video when the live stream is over. I mean, it would be awesome for them to get hundreds, if not thousands of emails congratulating those who have committed to do the right thing and asking the 2 who are still committed to doing the wrong thing to maybe change their mind. Maybe it would send a stronger message if the council was unanimous in its no vote. All right, a couple starred comments here, and we will wrap this up. Xenu Golf Club, Ryan Cotton showed his true colors in the meeting. Matt Elliott, SPTV Canada, they can't have a bigger building, not enough people. Lord Soft, Knight of the Black Rose. So, Osa, how are you dealing with Sarah Heller this week? Sarah, if you're watching, contact the SPTV Foundation for help. That is a brilliant idea. Joshua Cox, any updates on the lawsuits against Captain Davey? There are some updates, some relatively positive, and I'll do standalone videos on that as soon as I can. Lord Soth, just wondering how long Sarah Heller has been in the cult and what her official OSA role is. You know, I feel like someone said what she calls herself as her title. She's the communications director. Sarah Heller is not a communications director. Sarah Heller has worked in the Office of Special Affairs for 30 years. And, you know, these people are trained assassins. These people are killers. These are the people who do Scientology's dirty work. These are the people who work with the lawyers and the PIs and the goons. They fair game ex-members. They fair game journalists who speak out. They try to get people fired. They go through your trash. They call your friends. They call your family. They call your coworkers. They call your clients. They call your employer. This is who Sarah Heller is and what she does. There's a famous incident in one of the episodes of the Scientology and the Aftermath TV show where Mark Bunker goes and sits on an empty bench in an empty park owned by Scientology in downtown Clearwater. And Scientology calls the police. Scientology called the police because Mark Bunker sat on an empty bench in an empty park. And which Scientology official is it who showed up to hand the police officer a 20-year-old injunction that prevents Mark Bunker or Scientologists from coming within a certain distance of each other or certain properties or anything like this? It was Sarah Heller. It was Sarah Heller who tried to get Mark Bunker trespassed and or arrested for sitting on an empty bench in an empty park using using and misrepresenting a 20-year-old injunction that exists between Scientology and Mark Bunker. Does that sound like a communications director to you? No. And I saw someone else here who says that Sarah Heller is 4th generation Scientologist. There is a pretty good chance, and I won't say this definitively, but other people might know better. Sarah Heller might have actually been one of these kids who grew up in the cadet organization in Clearwater, Florida. Okay. If that is the case, and especially since Sarah Heller's been working in the Office of Special Affairs for so long, she is yet another Scientology executive who knows about all the child molestation, the child rape, the child labor trafficking, all of the abuse. Sarah Heller knows about all of it. But these ladies in Clearwater, Florida, who work for the Office of Special Affairs, whether it's Pat Harney or Sarah Heller. Oh, there's another one that a relatively young woman who I haven't heard or seen of heard about or seen in quite some time. They do a really good job of playing the golly gee, I'm just a normal person like you role. They're really good at doing that. Oh, all these people who criticize us, they have agendas and access to grind, and they all work for big pharma and big psych. See, look at me. I'm just a normal, likable person, just like you. If we were really that bad, would I be the communications director? And Sarah Heller does a really good job at that. But, she is one of the instruments, one of the tools that David Miscavige uses for Scientology to accomplish their dirty work and their underhanded, selfish, self-interested agenda in Clearwater, Florida. And even then, these people still are generally scared to show up to public meetings and speak on behalf of Scientology in public. See, they do their best work in private. And the evidence of that is Sarah Heller's performance at the city council meeting. Tilly Time says, what are these creative office spaces? Is that where they do the clay modeling? I actually had the same question. I thought creative office space was an interesting use of words, and I couldn't help but wonder if they would actually put Sea Org members in those offices. But who knows? Okay, REMR says, Miscavige is buying specifically historical buildings for the tax credits, not the city of Clearwater, not the people of Clearwater, but for Scientology, namely Little Captain Davy. Abraham Orich says, you have to give credit where credit is due. They do have some talented folks there who do a good job with these videos. This is not a small, easy task. The scale, the colors, the shadows, it's true. And I could be wrong about this. I do believe most of this digital rendering, fly-through video work is done by Sea Org members in the landlord office. I don't know if that's one of the things they hire out to professional firms. Maybe because they are working with some of these big firms that Sarah mentioned in the meeting. Maybe they outsource some of that. But no, I'm quite confident that, because these same videos that they do these videos for all of the Scientology Ideal Org buildings as well. I mean, I saw one of these digital fly-throughs of what the Philadelphia Ideal Org building was supposed to be like. And that was like 15 years ago. Yet another example of how having these flashy videos and the amount of time and money that it takes to create these things is no indication whatsoever on the likelihood of that project actually materializing. The video for the Philadelphia org was done, like I said, 15 or more years ago, and not a single dollar has been spent or hammer lifted to renovate the Philadelphia building in any way, shape, or form. The new proposed Philly building is still sitting vacant, empty, unused, untouched, totally wasted money, wasted building for 15 years. 15 years. And that's in one of the biggest cities in the United States. Absolutely unbelievable. Okay, definite trouble source. This is Erica. She says, Sarah referred to downtown Clearwater as our campus. That's right. Well, it might be your campus, but you still need the city to vote yes, to sell you the property that you really need. And, I'm going to be still traveling back to Clearwater on Thursday when the city council meeting occurs. So I won't be able to be there, but I was sort of fantasizing on if I were there, and maybe someone else can do this. If I were there for my 3 minutes allotted to speak, I would spend the vast majority of the time saying something relatively professional, relatively decent. And at the end, I would say, and this one's for you, Dave. Suck it, you little weasel. And that would be on the city's live stream. And I would be able to clip it and use it. And it would be absolutely hilarious. So maybe someone else wants to do that. I'm just saying it would be a good idea. Let's see. I think that is pretty much it. All right. That's going to be it for me, guys. Thank you for hanging out with me as always. And stay tuned. More to come soon. Talk to you later.
Okay, if you want to see my rock and roll songs, click right on this guitar. And if you want to see a different one of my videos, then you could click right inside here. If you have subscribed or not, subscribe right here.